gosh, it's the Omni movie.
What is the Omni movie?
The Omni movie is a VHS, full size to tape video recorder.
Wow. What kind of features does it have?
Well, we've got a zoom, we've got some fade stuff going on. You can play back, you can look at the playback stuff. There's a dubbing button. I don't know what that's for yet. I gotta read the manual. Still figuring it out.
Are you excited?
I'm really excited.
Hello everybody, this is our Game of Thrones season wrap-up for season 5. We're going to talk all about everything that happened in Game of Thrones, especially in the finale. We are filming this on our brand new Omnivision, brand new from the 80s, full-size VHS recorder to cassette tape. So excited about having this. When I was growing up, my family did not have anything like this. My dad was cheap. He didn't want to buy stuff like this. So I associated having this sort of stuff with rich people. And so now I'm really excited. I feel like a rich person from the 80s. I've got my Omni movie. I'm really excited about using it. Even better than the Barbiecam. And, this is a history lesson, guys, because this is the best video quality that, people used to have, all right? And you know what else is a history lesson is our Epic History X-Men Volume 1. We just released it for free on YouTube. It's over an hour long, filled with information about Marvel's favorite mutants. And Everett's getting rave reviews. Everybody loves it. So if you haven't already watched it, go check it out. And also, we have Volume 2, Epic History X-Men Volume 2, forthcoming on Vimeo on demand. It'll be for the price of a comic book, $3.99. And again, it'll be about an hour or over, filled with information all about the Phoenix and the Dark Phoenix sagas. I'm really excited about it. These Epic History X-Men videos are even better than the Game of Thrones Epic Histories, if you can believe that. All right, so all you Game of Thrones people out there, if you love the Epic History series that we did for the houses, you will totally probably appreciate this as well. I love it. Learn something about mutants and X-Men, and you won't regret it. So before we get into the characters, let me tell you about how I felt about the season overall. Part of the reason I didn't want to do a rewind this season is because I was afraid that I was going to end up hating this season, okay? And I didn't hate it. But I see where this is going because the George R. R. Martin material is gone now. Okay, they've used up most of all the material. Okay, in this season, there's very, very, very little things left at all. Like there's a couple things left in Sam's story, and now that the George R. R. Martin writing is gone, it's up to the writing room at Game of Thrones to come up with what's going to happen next. I mean, I know that George R. R. Martin and them have talked, and they know that what he's kind of planning to do, and they have outlines, whatever. But it's just like the writing that I'm seeing happening is already like just formulaic TV stuff, and it's not George R. R. Martin. And like the thing is, the reason I came to this show is because I'm a huge fan of the books, and I'm a huge fan of like his writing. I love the way he writes just these really human characters. It's like, people don't get their just desserts all the time, and then some people do, and then some people are wronged for no reason. I mean, it's just it's like life, it's very much like life. It's not a formula. You don't know what's going to happen in these books. And, there's certain things that I've seen this season that are they're just too easy, it's just too...
To be fair to the game of show...
Hello, T-Bone.
To be fair to the producers of this TV show, though, it's really hard to take any book and make it into TV episodes.
It is.
It's not something you just do.
It's really hard,
in a couple
especially
of
a book
days.
like this.
Yeah. So they're doing the best job they can.
Yeah.
However, George R. R. Martin has several decades of time that he's put into this, versus them, they only have a couple of weeks to come up with something. Yeah. It's just the physics of it are impossible. It's never going to be as good.
It's never going to be as good. And that's the thing. Like this show, I mean, I'm going to continue to watch the show, but I do know that it's now turned into more just like TV fun shenanigans.
Not that the producers aren't doing a great job. They are. And, the more people that throw poop at them, like they're Cersei, the worse it's going to get. You guys need to be a little bit nicer to get a better show.
Well, also don't steal their episodes when they leak online.
Well, that doesn't matter.
That's the whole thing. But anyways, but yeah, so it's like, I'm going to continue to watch it, but I'm not as emotionally invested in it anymore. It's just kind of like, I just watch it. Like, honestly, I was more invested in Silicon Valley this year. Like, Silicon Valley, like, I was having a fucking heart attack watching that show. I'm going to do a review on that later. So, you know, be on the lookout for that. But yeah, this show is just kind of turning into kind of just some fun shenanigans. So whatever. I knew this was going to happen. It's happening kind of how I thought it was going to happen. It's fine. Whatever. So, okay, let's get into the characters. So here we go. We're going to talk about Game of Thrones. Let's get into it. We're going to break it down by characters and kind of how they ended up. Let's start with one of the easier ones. Let's start with Cersei Lannister. We'll start with the Lannisters in general. So Cersei's story this season is very, very similar to her story in the books. They did not do a ton of deviations. There's a few minor things here and there, but nothing major. The main beats were there. And it was really gratifying to finally see Cersei do her walk of shame, you know. And if you remember from Epic History Lannister, this walk of shame is something that Tywin Lannister made the woman who was the mistress of his father after his mother had died. His dad took a mistress, and she was just totally like a common woman and like an asshole, and he hated her, and he thought that she made the family look bad. So after his dad died, he made her do the walk of shame. So it's ironic that Cersei has to do the same thing that Tywin made another lady do. And it was kind of interesting in the books. One thing they did leave out is Cersei's looking for other Lannisters to see if there's any other Lannisters there to help support her during this time. And there's nobody there, you know. I mean, she's got to do this alone. And the whole time, like, it's interesting because in the books you get to hear her inner monologue about what's going on. And she's like, I'm going to raise my head high, and I'm not going to show them anything, and I'm going to walk like a proud lioness through the streets. And by the end of it, she does break down into tears. She does break down by the end of it. It's really terrible. But she keeps thinking, like, for my son, for my little king, you know, I can do this. I can do anything. I just have to get to my son. So she does get there, and she is wrapped in a cloak. And that is also when you see Sir Gregor, or whoever he's supposed to be now, but we all know it's the Mountain. Zombie Mountain in the show. You can see that he's like bluish through the helmet, so you know he's like super fucked up and weird now. And you know that she's going to use this guy to get her revenge, which should be really interesting next season. But another thing that's interesting about in the books, the Martells ask for the Mountain's head to prove that he had died, because they had said that he died from his wounds, and they were like, well, for our retribution, you got to send us the head. So they send them a skull, a giant skull, like so, and it's presented to everybody. So the whole thing in the books is like, you don't know if they sent like some other giant guy's skull, but how many giant guys are roaming around? So like maybe they did send Sir Gregor's skull, and maybe he doesn't even have a head. So maybe this Franken Mountain doesn't even have a fucking head, because like they have a helmet on him, and like he's sealed in this like suit of armor, and he has this helmet on, but you can't see through the helmet. So like he might be fucking headless crazy dude. Nobody fucking knows. So that's one thing that's really interesting. A little different twist. That I'll be interested to see what happens when Winds of Winter comes out, and when the next season, you know, see the two different deals. But yeah, so it was kind of fun to see Cersei get her just desserts. But at the same time, it is still hard to just watch someone have to do something like that, because it's so fucked up. I did like the part where we had the lady who was like, shame. And she had the little bell. It reminded me of something I just saw in What We Do in the Shadows, where they condemn one of the other vampire roommates to the shaming ritual, and they just walk around him and go shame at him. So I guess maybe that was a real medieval thing, is people going around and saying shame at you. I know that the walk of shame, like naked through the streets, is actually a medieval torture thing that they did mainly to adulteresses. Not the men though, you know, it's cool if you cheat if you're a dude, but if you're a chick, you know, you got to be stripped naked and, you know, abused through the streets. But whatever. Moving on. Let's go to Myrcella, Jaime, and Bronn over in Dorne. Okay, so none of this happens in the books. Myrcella is in Dorne. There is a plot going on in Dorne, but it's completely different. Instead of trying to kill Myrcella, it is actually the daughter of Prince Doran, the main guy, the main dude, the main Martell guy. His first, or I don't know if she's the firstborn. I think she's the firstborn. Ariane, I don't know how to say her name, but she has a crazy scheme where she wants to crown Marcella queen of the Seven Kingdoms, because in Dorne, the succession, it doesn't matter if you're a boy or a girl. So Marcella being older than Tommen, by Dornish law, she would be the rightful queen of the Seven Kingdoms. So essentially she's trying to start a war with the Seven Kingdoms by crowning Marcella, and they're trying to sneak her back into like the city, and there's this whole big thing, and Marcella they end up getting busted with their plan, and during the bust Marcella gets her ear cut off and like a facial scar like going on. Nobody knows the extent of the damage yet. We haven't seen it since, but you know that she's kind of been fucked up from this whole situation. She doesn't die. She doesn't know that her dad's Jaime. Jaime doesn't even go there. Jaime goes to the Riverlands actually to deal with some River Lords, so he doesn't do anything that exciting necessarily. Although it is interesting that while Jaime's in the Riverlands in the books, Cersei sends him a letter when she gets captured by the Sparrows, and she's like, "Oh my God, I need your help! Like, come save me!" And he's like, "Fuck you!" And he doesn't give a shit anymore, which was like really powerful, like in the books. And I wish that they had more of the destruction of their relationship. I think that their relationship falling apart is really interesting. And Bronn, he's just married to Lala Stokeworth. He married her. She had her baby. He named the baby Tyrion as a hilarious insult to everybody in the Seven Kingdoms, so they couldn't forget Tyrion, like a constant reminder. So funny. And, his child is it's not his child. Lollys was raped in King's Landing and Flea Bottom when there was that giant, crazy rape fest riot thing going on. So he's like a bastard child too. So it's really interesting. It's kind of cute and funny. But what I thought of this, I hated the ending of this where Marcella's like, "Oh, I'm your daughter. I know I'm your daughter. I love you so much." And he has his dad moment right before she dies. I mean, that was just like, I don't know. I just felt like that was really like formulaic TV writing. And I thought that it was stupid. I mean, like, what a dumb fucking plan. It's like, they're not that far out of the harbor. They can turn the fucking boat around and go, "Hey, guess what? Your bitch just killed Marcella," and I knew she fucking poisoned her when she kissed her. Like, I was like, did she fuck just poison? That's fucking poison. And yeah, so I just thought that was really stupid. I mean, it's just like, so wait a minute, there's two things that are going to happen. Either they're going to turn the boat around, which they're not going to do, but anyone would do that. I mean, you would do that because obviously Doran doesn't want this to happen. So like, they would work some shit out. Okay. But instead what's probably going to happen is they're going to continue on to King's Landing. Who knows if Marcella's actually dead? We don't know if she's actually dead or anything. So maybe she'll be fine. Who knows? But I guess they're just going to keep Tristan captured now, and since Tristan is the heir, he's the heir in this one. In the other one, he's got two older siblings, Arianne and Quentin, but they're not in the show at all. So I don't think you don't even need to talk about them, I guess. So let's move on to Arya Stark and her story over in Braavos. Now, this was a story I was really, really looking forward to. I love Arya in Braavos. I love Braavos. I love the House of Black and White. All that stuff is like really weird and fun and cool. And I don't know. I really feel like they didn't do it any justice this season. I was kind of felt like her storyline was kind of one of my least favorites, which was really surprising because it was the one that I was looking forward to the most. One of the things that they kind of skimped on is in Braavos, people don't speak Westerosi. They speak Braavosi. So one of the things that she has to do, one of her first things, is she just has to go out, and she's cat of the canals, and she works with like, selling some cockles and stuff like that too. But mainly it's like she does all this to learn how to speak Braavosi, learn the language, learn how to blend into this society, learn the rules of the society, and also she's a spy. She goes out and she learns different weird things, and she goes back to the kindly faced man. By the way, there's no Jack and Hagar. It's just a kindly faced man. And she tells him the secrets and all this stuff. And the whole like her being blinded thing, that happens way earlier, when Cat of the Canals is running around and she sees a man of the Night's Watch, Darian, who's on his way with Sam and Gilly to the Citadel. And she briefly meets Sam, but they don't like really introduce each other or whatever. But she ends up killing him because she overhears that he's not going on with them to the Citadel, and that fuck them, and he's just going to go to stay in Braavos and fuck the Night's Watch. So he's abandoning his watch essentially. And Arya's like, well, my dad would kill a deserter of the Night's Watch. The whole show starts in the books start with him killing, you know, a deserter of the Night's Watch. So she kills him, and as punishment, she's blinded because she wasn't told to kill that guy. So that's a difference. And then she just has to go around and be blind, and she has to be a beggar in the streets, and she has to like learn how to be a blind person and how to use her other senses, which is really interesting, and that's a lot of fun too. It's kind of like, God, it's like she's like training, I don't know, it's like martial arts training. It's like really intense. In the Lion Game, they do the Lion Game with the waif and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun. But yeah, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling her story. I felt like there was some gratuitous moments, like Sir Meryn Trant. She never killed Sir Meryn Trant, or hasn't yet, at least. She has. I think that this is taken from a Winds of Winter chapter that's come out where she kills somebody else. Whatever. But I just felt like, I don't know, like we know Meryn Trant's an asshole. Like, we know this guy's a dickhead. Do you really have to show him like hitting little girls with sticks, you know, and like raping little girls and stuff? Like, do I really need to see him hitting little girls and making them cry? No, I felt that was a bit gratuitous. I felt it was a little gross, you know. It was just like they're just trying to put gross stuff in there to get fucking weirdos to get all fucking juiced up, you know. I don't know. I didn't really like it. And then her killing him, you know, and then when they take the masks off, and I just wasn't feeling it this year. I just wasn't feeling it. I just was not feeling it. It was not for me. We'll see what happens next season. Again, this is pretty much her story. I mean, now she goes around blind and stuff like that. So yeah, there's Arya and Braavos. Let's stay on Essos and let's go over to Meereen. Let's check in on Daenerys, Tyrion, Daario, Mormont, Hizdahl, and Barristan. Okay, so this whole thing. Okay, in Dance with Dragons, I hate Dany and Meereen. Okay, even in the books, I hate Dany and Meereen. Like, I'm just like, get out of there. That place fucking sucks, you know. And there's a lot of stuff that they didn't do and they totally left out, which one of the things is they totally skip over her marriage to Hizdahl Norak, whatever the fuck his name is. She really hates that she has to marry this guy. Like, he's such a gross, skeezy dude, you know, and she does not want to fuck this guy, but she has to, you know, and it's like she has to fuck him on their wedding night, and she's just like, ugh, like, this is so gross, you know, and it's like this whole thing, you know, and then he's off, like, and she's like, well, now I can't be with Daario because I'm married, but he's like still fucking other chicks. It's like, doesn't make any sense. It's really stupid. But anyways, he does not die, and in fact may or may not have been a part of a plot to poison Daenerys. There was not a giant Sons of the Harpy stabby scene at the Colosseum. Instead, what happens in the books is that she reopens the fighting pits, and there's these honeyed locusts, and she was supposed to eat some of them, but she doesn't, and instead Strong Belwas eats them, who he's not in the show, but he's like this big fat eunuch guy who's like this badass fighter that's her bodyguard. And he eats a lot of them, and then he's like, you know, so she knows they're poisoned. And so everyone starts freaking out and, like, running around. And then that's when Drogon shows up, and, like, everything's going nuts. And she flies. She's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. She flies, like, all the way back to the Dothraki grasslands. And Drogon just kind of flies her back there. And she's, like, just, like, looking around, and she's, like, trying to get forage for water and food and figure shit out. She is found by a Dothraki guy, but then Drogon comes down and like fires him and the horse, and so he eats that dude, and she eats the horse meat. But then the rest of the Dothraki come, and it's somebody who's from like one of her blood riders, her previous, not her blood riders, but Drogon's ones. So it'll be interesting to see how she gets herself out of this pickle. Again, this is kind of where it ends in the books, so it wasn't quite as dramatic in the books, but we'll see what happens. I thought her dropping the ring thing, I can't remember if she does that in the book or not, but like, you really think that these fucking dickheads are gonna you're like all the way in the Dothraki grasslands, are gonna go that far, and then they're gonna find your ring in the middle of a field, and then what? That's gonna point them where exactly? Like, I don't know. I thought that was like kind of goofy. I really can't remember whether that's in the books or not, but I just thought that was like, there's no way that the ring, like, Daenerys shouldn't be like, I need to put a ring here so I can have someone save me. She should be like, how the fuck am I going to get myself out of this? Like, I don't know. It seems a little weird, but whatever. So after she leaves, Sir Barristan Selmy ends up taking over the city and keeps the peace for her while she's gone. He's not dead. They killed him off in the beginning of the season. I don't know why. Maybe the actor had something better he wanted to do. I don't know. I have no idea. But they killed him. And, he takes over Meereen instead of Tyrion. Tyrion and Mormont are not there at all. Like, they're, I don't know, like, either, I think they're, like, sold themselves to, like a Second Sons type company thing or something, the Golden Company. I don't know. They sell them, like, I don't know. It's like their whole story is really weird. Like, Tyrion is trying so hard to get to Daenerys, and, like, it's so difficult. And, like, he still hasn't even found her yet. And he's still just trying to get there. And he's dealing with, like, this plague. Like, there's this plague going on in Meereen, too. The bloody flux. Everyone's just shitting themselves to death, Like, it's just fucked up. And then the Yunkai are attacking them, too. They have to come up with a peace treaty with the Yunkai. And then Daario isn't there either. He's like a prisoner of war. He's been captured or something. So, Dany's whole thing is, her thing's a lot different. I don't love it in the books, so I don't really love it in the show either. I felt like Tyrion got there way too easily, and she's just, like, his boy, like, super quick. And, I mean, and it's like, I don't know how she's gonna feel when she gets back and she sees the spider there. It's like, she's like, I said you were cool, Tyrion. I didn't say the fucking spider was cool. Like, that's gonna make, I don't know, I feel like that's gonna piss her off or something. But whatever. So, yeah, so Dany's thing this time. Oh, yeah, and this is another thing. Fucking Mormont has grayscale, okay? That's another thing that doesn't happen in the books. Mormont doesn't have grayscale. But here's my question. Okay, grayscale is supposed to be like the fucking chicken pox or something. It's like a super fucked up chicken pox, all right? This is a highly virulent disease. Why would you even be in Daenerys' presence with this shit? Like, you could fucking give everybody grayscale, you motherfucker. Like, what are you doing? Like, I know, like, if they touch you or something, I don't know. It seems weird that he has it and that he's just hanging out with everybody and not telling anybody and that he's totally going to infect somebody. I don't know. It seems weird. I know that this is probably not going to play into the show at all, but just as a person, me thinking, I'm like, I don't understand why seems like a bad idea. He could get everyone killed, but whatever. What we have left is the North. Let's start with Stannis and Brienne. Okay, so with Stannis, obviously there's a lot to talk about. He let Melisandre burn his baby. And hashtag never burn your babies. That's totally whack. And, because of this, his wife Selyse ends up hanging herself. And, half of his men fucking leave and take all the horses because they're probably just like, I'm not going to follow this fucking guy who's burning his daughter alive. Like, fuck this guy. Like, what did they think was going to happen? And then Melisandre fucking leaves him, and he's just like, fine, and he trudges up to the thing. And, I don't know, that scene where like, the scene where Shireen is burned, it's just like, I don't know, I, like, cried, like, really hard at that. It really affected me. I did not like it, and it really bummed me out, and it was super lame. So fuck you, Stannis, whatever. And I heard that somebody had said that George R. R. Martin was going to do that in the books or something. I don't know. I don't know the validity of these claims. But I do know that in the books, Shireen and Selyse are back on Castle Black along with Melisandre. They didn't leave to go in the field with him. And also in the books, Stannis does die off screen. In fact, you don't even know if he's dead or not because you get a letter from the Boltons saying that, oh, we've killed Stannis and da-da-da-da-da. And you know that he's, like, trudging through the snow and there's all this fucked up snow going on and, like, things are just getting worse and worse for him. But you don't see him die and you don't know if that letter is, like, true or not. You can't trust it, So, yeah, so we don't really know if Stannis is dead in the books or not, but he is, like, heading towards Winterfell and all that sort of good stuff. And then we also don't know if he dies in the show because, Brienne, she chops down, but you don't see him die. So... And the last thing that he said to her was, do your duty. And she had said to Sansa, like, I am your person now, whatever, all this stuff. And then she leaves, her post and doesn't see the stupid candle. And then for personal business, and then essentially does not do her duty. She's not doing her duty. She's left her duty to deal with personal business with Stannis. And he maybe reminds her to do that. I don't know. But the whole, like, Brienne, Sansa thing, like, Brienne, this doesn't happen in the books at all for Brienne. Her story is way different, involving Lady Stoneheart and all that stuff. And, you know, the thing with Brienne is, in the show, like, I just felt like it was just so convenient and just, like, formulaic TV writing, where it's like, she leaves right when she put the fucking candle in the fucking thing, you know, and she doesn't see it, and, you know, it's just like, give me a break, you know, whatever. And then her getting her revenge on Stannis. It's just like, it's just too easy. It's like just a nice little neat bow for her, you know, like she doesn't, like life isn't like that. Like you don't get that satisfaction a lot of times, you know, you don't get to face the person who like fucked your life up a lot of times and tell them what the fuck you thought of them, you know, like that's movie writing and TV writing and stuff like that. And this just felt too, you know.
Again, they don't have time. They have to just rely on standard TV tricks and tropes to get it done.
Yeah. This is now the T-Bone show, so.
One thing I thought is in the previous first 3 seasons, they were doing things that were realistic because that's how George R. R. Martin writes it. Everything's realistic. When something terrible happens to a character, it's still within the realm of a realistic thing. In the following seasons, they just feel like they're torturing their characters just because that's what they thought that George was doing. He wasn't just torturing people for no reason.
Yeah.
So it just gets depressing.
Yeah. Yeah, this whole season was just fucking depressing. Especially the Sansa storyline. Let's talk about Sansa. So, none of this happens in the books. It's Jane Poole, who's like her handmaiden, who's being passed off as Arya Stark, who is not even Arya Stark in this position. And it's just like, it just doesn't make any sense to like, so they build her up and then you see her in the last season, she's like, oh, I'm a badass now. And like, I can lie and all this stuff, you know, and they're setting her up as this fucking badass now who's no longer the little girl who's going to be, you know, fucking pushed around by everybody. You know, now she's a woman, you know, and then they just give her to Ramsay Bolton and she's raped every night for the next fucking thing. That's how she loses her virginity, is she's fucking raped by Ramsay Bolton.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Her arc had already come around, and then they reversed her arc and went back on it.
I know, they reversed her arc and go back on it. What? That doesn't I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I hate Sansa, but not that much. Jesus. Like, fuck, man. I don't know. I hated it. I just hated it. I hated all of it.
At this rate, I'm expecting when you see them coming back from the scene where they jumped out of the castle into the snow, you find out that they just died. Both of them just broke their legs.
I know. Well, you know, they'd probably be happy to just break their legs and die, but whatever. But in the books, Reek does get with Jane Poole, and he knows that she's Jane Poole. He knows that she's not really Arya. And he does escape with her. But it's a whole other... Mance Rayder is involved. I'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, I mean, I just don't like Ramsay Bolton, how he's cast, how he's portrayed. I hate seeing the Boltons just win everything and just like kick everyone's ass and then like be badasses and get their way all the time. I don't know.
It was a bummer for everyone except the Boltons.
I know, like the Boltons are doing great this season, you know, and it's like, why would Littlefinger leave Sansa with them? Like, I mean, maybe he doesn't really give a shit about her. Maybe he, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, her storyline was just such a fucking bummer, dude. I was just like, I mean, even though, like, I will say in the books, the wedding night thing is even worse than it is in the show. I'm not going to go into details, but it's just like, and I bet Sansa now is like, Tyrion wasn't so fucking bad, you know, but she's like, Tyrion, he was actually kind of a cool guy. I wish I was married to that guy again. You know, I'm sure she's kind of rethinking her whole Tyrion marriage in a lot of ways. But yeah, so now Sansa and Reek are on the run. They run into Stannis, and then they're escaping from him, and it's this whole thing. And so this is kind of the end of Reek's story, though. We don't know where it goes from here. Let's talk about Jon Snow, Melisandre, and the Onion Knight. Okay, so now we have Jon, Melisandre, and the Onion Knight on the wall. In the books, the Onion Knight isn't on the wall. He's sent to White Harbor to treat with Lord Manderley to get more troops for Stannis. But there's like a whole switcheroo going on with him, and they like falsely imprison him. Oh, they imprison him, but like they don't really imprison him. They like cut off somebody else's head and tar and feather it and give it to somebody that wants him dead. So they look like that they're in cahoots with, but they're really helping the Onion Knight. And they're like, we need you to find Rickon. He is on an island. Like, we heard that he's on this island. We need a smuggler to go find him and smuggle him back. So the Onion Knight has accepted a quest to go find Rickon on some island and smuggle him back into White Harbor. So that, that's what's going on in the books there. It'll be really interesting to see how the Onion Knight works on the wall, especially with just the Onion Knight and Melisandre, because there's no more Stannis and Shireen and Selyse. So, and it is, although it is frustrating that the Onion Knight hasn't found out that Shireen was burned alive and that he never will find out. Like, it's like, I really wanted to see him deal with that news and like what that would do to him, and like, would that finally really just break him of Stannis, and finally his allegiance to Stannis would be destroyed. It was interesting how that would play out, but I don't think that he's ever going to find out about the Shireen shenanigans. So the Melisandre stuff on the wall is really different. So in the books, Melisandre does a switcheroo with Mance, okay? So when Mance is burned alive, she glamours him to look like Rattleshirt and Rattleshirt to look like Mance. So they really burn Rattleshirt alive. And so that was, and then she sends Mance on a mission to go save Arya Stark, who's really Jane Poole, but they don't know that. They think it's the real Arya. So they send him to go, okay? And so he goes, he gets there, he tries to help them. I think he's captured. But there's that whole switcheroo that happens, which plays in later when, okay, so Jon Snow's dead, guys. All right, let's talk about it. Again, in the books, it's a little bit more different. I feel like the Night's Watch has a little bit better reason to kill him, because what he does, the action that he does to get himself killed is they hear about what's happened at Hardhome, the zombie attack or whatever that you see on screen. You never see that. You just hear about it in the books. You never see it. Nobody's there. It's just a massacre that you hear about. So Jon's like, hey, we need to send a rescue party to rescue anybody left over from Hardhome, which is bumming everybody out. Like, the Night's Watch is like, fuck those guys. They're all dead. Like, why are you doing this? And even Melisandre's like, I've seen it in my flames, dude. Those fucking ships are not coming back. Like, you like, don't fucking bother with them. But he's just not listening because he's a Stark. He's stubborn. But also, there is a giant. You saw him in the books. His name is One, and he totally like eats a guy or like kills a guy accidentally or something like that. And so like that's pissing everyone off. And they're like, and they have to feed this giant. And they're just like, dude, we can't fucking. What is this fucking guy? Like, I can't deal with this fucking giant. So like he's like fucking pissing all the Night's Watch off, and like Jon's trying to smooth it over, but it's just not happening. And then he also announces that he is going to ride south to Winterfell to save Arya, because he gets a letter from the Boltons saying that, like, fuck you and give me back, Arya or whatever. He knows that like something's gone, like Mance has been captured and like some shenanigans have gone on. So he's gonna go find his sister, and he goes, who's coming with me? And all the wildlings are like, yeah, we'll fucking do it. And so, the Night's Watch people think that, okay, one's pissing off because he just killed a guy, the giant. Then he's like wasting resources to go to Hardhome for fucking wildlings that they don't give a shit about, that are probably already dead anyways. And then he's also breaking his vows and going to Winterfell to deal with family business. Like, this is something like you're not supposed to, like, that's not your problem anymore, So like, because of those three things, they kill him. But because you see Melisandre doing the switcheroo with Mance Rhaegar earlier, she could have done some sort of magic switcheroo with Jon. I really don't believe that he's dead. Even if he is dead, she is a red priestess, and that Thoros of Myr, the red priest, he keeps bringing back, Beric Dondarrion, and then, Stoneheart, whatever. So, so she could either have done a switcheroo, or she could potentially maybe bring him back with that, even though she's never done that before and is surprised to hear that Thoros of Myr can do it. Like, she's like, I don't think that's in her fucking skill set yet. But maybe she figures it out. I don't know, but I'm excited to find out, because I really, really, really don't believe that Jon Snow is dead. I really don't believe that Jon Snow is dead. I believe that they just needed to get Jon Snow out of the Night's Watch. And literally the only way that they would get that guy to leave of his own free will is if he was just literally killed by all the people there that were just like, fuck you. So now he's free to go and be a badass. essentially. And the thing is, like, the thing with Melisandre too in the books is, like, you don't know if she's playing Stannis. Like, she could totally just be playing him this whole time, telling him that she thinks he's this guy when she really doesn't think he's that, and maybe she's just using him to finally get to the wall or something. Because, you know, is the fan theory about Jon Snow being the prince that was promised, potentially the son of, you know, the Song of Ice and Fire, you know, born of a Targaryen and a Stark, you know, all this sort of stuff. So, you know, I can see why she would have designs on Jon and how he could be really important to the Red God. So it's just, it doesn't seem, you know, I wouldn't count him out. It is interesting to see. I'm glad that Sam and Gilly they're off on their Citadel trip. That is a whole other thing in there too. Another switcheroo is Gilly's baby is switched out with Mance Rayder's babies because Jon doesn't want Mance Rayder's babies to be burned alive by Melisandre or sacrificed by Melisandre because they have king's blood because he's the king beyond the wall. So they switch the babies, you know. So now she's got Mance Rayder's baby and then Mance Rayder's baby at the wall. And, you know, but that's neither here nor there, I guess. But
what would you have done if you were Jon Snow? What would your plan be?
My plan would be... My plan, if I was Jon, I'd just be settling those assholes on the other side of the wall, man. That's what I'd be doing. Just like, hey, guess what? We got a lot of lands. Nobody's working the lands. Nobody's farming them. Why don't you guys get on it? Here's all the castles. Let's open up some of these castles. You guys start fucking running these castles and just fucking absorb them into the Night's Watch, essentially. I mean, I don't know.
They'd still be pissed. They wouldn't accept it.
Maybe not. I mean, it'll take a while to you know, calm them down. But then again, it's like, again, winter's fucking coming, guys. Like, you know, like, you guys are gonna have to work together, all right?
I think Jon Snow should have brought a zombie as proof to show him, look, this is what there's gonna happen to all of us.
Well, they know that they're zombies, though. It doesn't even make sense. Like, they've seen them. Like, many people have seen them who are on the wall, on the castle. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so yeah, Sam and Gilly, they're now on their trip. In the books, Aemon Targaryen is the one who tells them that Sam needs to go because he's like, I'm dying, you guys, and like, you guys need a maester and you need to send someone, and Sam is obviously like the dude. So they all go, but Aemon dies on the trip in the boat. It's like awful. Like, their boat trip is just like awful. Like, you just like, it sucks. It's dank. It's wet. It's like the baby's crying the whole time. You know, everyone's throwing up everywhere because it's just like seasickness because it's like fall, winter time. So all the, like, you know, the boat's really choppy. But I'm really excited to get to the Citadel and see the Citadel. That'll be a lot of fun. There's some glass candle action going on. That means some stuff. I'm not going to go in any more than that. But there's some fun magical things going on at the Citadel that I'm looking forward to seeing more of. So yeah, I think that's about it for my review of Game of Thrones this season. It was okay. There was some goofy stuff. There was some fun stuff. But there was a lot of goofy stuff. I don't know. Like I said, so Silicon Valley is more my jam. It's becoming more of my show than Game of Thrones. I think it's kind of fun. I finally overcame my love of one for the other. But like I said, I'll still be watching next season. I'm going to see what goes on, see what happens. Because I'm really curious to see where they fucking take this thing. Because nobody knows, you know. It's all new stuff from here on in. We'll see how it goes. Zombie Mountain for the win. I don't know. Get rid of those zealots, you know. Kill the zealots with the zombie. That's what I'm looking forward to. And, you know, maybe we'll get some Crow's Eye next season. I mean, that is one of the storylines that they really haven't done anything with is Pike. On Pike, the fucking Iron Islands people, they got a whole thing going on. So maybe we'll get some Crow's Eye next season. That would be really cool. I'd be down for that. I would definitely say at this point, if you haven't read the books, just read the books, man. Like, they're so awesome. Like, there's just so much. They're just so good. Like, the characters are just so realistic. It's ridiculous. So, big ups to George R. R. Martin. Take your time writing Winds of Winter. I'll be here. I'm really here for you, George. I'm here for you. I'm definitely more excited about Winds of Winter than season 6. Game of Thrones. Well, okay, these guys are doing the best they can with what they have and how much time. But the thing is I knew that this was going to happen from the very beginning. I knew that this was going to, I was like, there's no way that they're going to be, he's not going to catch up. They're going to catch up to him. Like, they knew that this was going to happen, and now it's happening, and now it's falling apart. And this is exactly what I thought was going to happen, and it's happened, and it's happening.
Do you think they should have done what George R.R. Martin suggested that they do?
Which was go back and
do what we covered in Epic Histories?
Yes, that would be dope. I would love to see Robert's Rebellion. I would love to see Robert's Rebellion. A whole season of Robert's Rebellion, I would be so fucking down for. I would be so down for that. Plus, the first book's so good. And the first 2 seasons are just so good. And, like, it sucks that they'll never be that good again. Yeah. You know? I don't know what to tell you about next season. It might be a total mess. I'm sure everybody will love it. I'm sure I'll be the only person who hates it. So, it's like I feel like a grandma. This is why I don't want to review Game of Thrones anymore, is because I'm going to sound like a fucking grandma. I'm going to be like, in the books, and I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to sound like that because I know that so many of you just fucking love this show and you're having the best time with it. And I'm glad that you're loving this show. I'm so glad it's doing everything you needed to do for you. It's not doing everything that I needed to do for me. And that's okay, you know, but it's just going to upset you when I say things like this. And, like, I don't want to upset people, but at the same time, you know, I don't know. I'm in a pickle. I'm in a little bit of a pickle here. I wish you guys would maybe check out some of my other content.
Like Epic History.
History. X-Men Volume 1.
Which is better than any Game of Thrones video.
So, yeah, definitely check out Epic History X-Men Volume 1. Now that there's no more Game of Thrones, you got nothing else to do. So I got a whole hour for you waiting. And then, yeah, be on the lookout for Volume 2. I'm so excited. Phoenix Saga, Dark Phoenix Saga, what? Claremont Years. So it's going to be super dope and learn about something new that maybe you'll fall in love with. There's plenty of stuff. There's plenty of X-Men for you if you want to get into X-Men. So, you know, that's just not running out anytime soon. So anyways, thanks again for watching. Don't forget, there's a Zealot poster, cosplay Zealot poster on sale, cbg19.bigcartel.com. Check it out, signed, kissed, and smooched on and everything. And that's it for today. Be sure to like this video if you like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and Facebook for all your Combo Girl 19 news and updates.
Oh my gosh, it's the Omni movie.
What is the Omni movie?
The Omni movie is a VHS, full size to tape video recorder.
Wow. What kind of features does it have?
Well, we've got a zoom, we've got some fade stuff going on. You can play back, you can look at the playback stuff. There's a dubbing button, I don't know what that's for yet, I gotta read the manual. Still figuring it out.
Are you excited?
I'm really excited.